Today I am in one of my favorite cities in the entire world, Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. Actually, right now, I'm in one of the coolest spots in the planet. This is Café Apartment, and it's an entire apartment complex of abandoned apartments. And in this video today, I want to share the 3 steps that I personally follow to actually start working online and leaving the UK to travel the world and actually become the person capable of living the life that I now live, so that you can take these things and implement them into your life starting today. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is George and I am from the UK. I went from homeless, sleeping in my car. I was in £25,000 worth of debt. I was paying back £1 a month on a debt repayment scheme, and I had a 248 credit score. I worked as a recruitment consultant earning minimum wage for this absolute douchebag of a boss, and I just felt like so stuck in life. But now I work online as a content creator and online entrepreneur. I live in Bangkok and travel all across Southeast Asia. And on this channel, I share specific actionable things that you can do to create consistent and predictable online incomes, specifically focused around AI and content, so you can unlock your true potential and live a life of peace, freedom, and abundance. Living in Western society, do you ever feel like you're living a life you didn't choose, but instead it was just handed to you? And now you spend your days doing work that isn't your passion, paying for things that you don't really need, just to impress people you don't really care about. Well, one I'm gonna share right now changed everything for me, and I truly think it will change everything for you too. And that is ego dissolution and manifestation. Now I know what you're thinking, like, why, man, I didn't come here for this hippie bullshit. And maybe you feel like you've heard this 100 times before, but I'd be doing you a complete disservice. I didn't at least cover this at the beginning of the video, because I truly believe it is the most important but most overlooked aspect in all of this. In a minute, I'm actually going to cover specific ways you could start making money online as well. And we're going to cover everything from what to focus on to how much to charge, everything. Now, for this to make sense, let me share a really quick story. So when I was 17, I got my first car. It was a 1997 Citroen Saxo. Like, the window had to be taped shut, the power steering didn't work, you had to like lift the door to close it, and it had like this leak in the light through the middle when it rained. But I loved that car, And as any self-respecting 17-year-old dude who just got his driver's license in his first car, I wanted to blast music out of those windows. I wanted Nelly, Linkin Park, DMX, Eminem. But there was a problem. I wasn't good with computers. My only exposure to computers was when I was in ICT in school, and I spent most of my time just playing like this helicopter game where you had to like bounce it through this cave, and I sucked at that too. And so what I did was I went to my friend Nishal's house, and Nishal is good with computers, and I got him to burn me a CD. But what I didn't realize was this story I was telling myself, this George is no good at computers, that was holding me back. And because of this story that I wasn't good at computers, I ended up doing manual labor jobs. I became a plumber's mate, and I would work on like these freezing cold building sites at 7 AM in the morning, just covered in dust and shit, earning minimum wage. I was properly miserable, all because of that story I told myself. But who we are is simply a recurring story about who we tell ourselves that we are. We tell ourselves we're good at some things, bad at some things, we can do some things, we can't do some other things. And our life situation is, in large part, a reflection of this story. Check out this view here. It's not a bad office spot for the day, if I am honest. Most people think that manifestation is woo-woo, but it's not. It's actually very simple. I was actually taught this by a Buddhist monk out in Thailand. And the process of manifestation looks like this. It goes from thoughts to feelings to actions to results. So our results, our life situation, the last step in the process of manifestation is entirely dependent upon that first step, that causative step, which is our thoughts. But we have a problem. We aren't in control of our thoughts. We are not the thinkers of our thoughts. If you've ever meditated before, you'll notice that thoughts arise in your awareness. Not from awareness, but in your awareness. So here's what I recommend you try and do. First, try to become aware of these stories you're telling yourself, these self-imposed narratives, these self-imposed limiting beliefs that you're continually telling yourself. Then, because our thoughts come from a place we can't control, our subconscious mind, I recommend feeding the subconscious mind with quality, empowering information. I know that when I started out on my journey, I would just start feeding my mind with like Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, or listening to like personal development coaches like Tony Robbins. And I know this might sound like some outdated bullshit, but it really isn't. And eventually, feeding my subconscious mind with this information, I began to notice new thoughts arise. I began to think, you know, oh, this terrible thing's happened, but I'd reframe it naturally to how can this be the best thing that could have happened to me? Or I'd fail at something. Then I'd remind myself this quote from Napoleon Hill, which is in every failure, there's the equivalent seed of opportunity. So I'd find myself looking for opportunity in every failure. And that was only because I programmed my subconscious mind to begin to think this way. Now, again, this might sound like outdated bullshit, but this actually lays the foundations to be able to move on to the next step, which is actually creating an online income, doing work that we love. So now let's move on to the next step of the video, which is where we can look at how to create a consistent online income, doing work that actually we're passionate about, because whether or not we like it, money does make the world go round, and it will be that oxygen that fuels and sustains long-term travel. Do you wish you could work online, doing work that feels like play with nothing but a laptop and a mobile phone? Here's a truth that nobody really wants you to know. It's very simple. Doesn't mean easy, but it is very simple. Some of the things I'm going to cover in this section here, they can be really powerful. So what I recommend doing is maybe saving this to a What's Later playlist, or just listening to this section a couple of times, just in the background, maybe whilst you're doing something. And look, you don't necessarily have to do the specific exercises that I'm sharing here, but it's worth just letting it soak into your mind and just sort of adding it to like your mental war chest. And please remember, there are no turnkey solutions in life. There's no fucking freedom button that you press it and you get cash and location independence. Otherwise, everyone would be pressing it. And again, remember, the process of manifestation is thoughts to feelings to actions to results. So action is the bridge that takes something from unmanifest to manifest. There has to be a causative step for there to be an effect. If you don't act, there's no cause, there will be no effect. There's so much bullshit online. Everyone's saying, you know, this is the new way to do this. This is the only way to do this. But in actual fact, what's right for you won't be right for me, and it won't be right for another person. So it's really important we find that right lane for ourselves, because everybody's a bit different. Now, firstly, you need to decide if money is the goal or passion is the goal. They're two very different things, and what you're most passionate about might not always be the most effective way at making money. Now, personally, I actually find a little bit of a middle ground here. I find that yes, money is the goal. I want to make money with the thing that I'm doing. But if I'm not passionate about it, if I don't have any interest in that thing, or maybe have a vision for the way I want to see the world, I'll just quit. So it's really important to decide where you fall in that continuum between I'm passionate about this thing and that's why I want to pursue it, or I just want to make a load of bunts and that's why I'm going to pursue it. Whereas if you can find something that has real revenue potential that also aligns with either activities or a vision you have for the future that you're passionate about, that is a real good place to be. Once you've found that thing that you're either a little bit passionate about, or maybe you just want to chase a shitload of money, you need to look at something called a J-curve. Now, a J-curve essentially means speed to profitability. So let's say you're looking at a service-based business. Maybe you're charging $2,000 to $10,000 a month for a particular service. The moment you get that first client, you're immediately profitable, right? You're already in the black, you're profitable. Whereas a J-curve business is one that initially goes down in profit to eventually come up. A good example of this might be a software tool or a mobile application. Maybe you invest time, money, energy, effort into creating that particular product, and it only becomes profitable at a certain scale. So it's important for you to decide how soon you want to make money from the specific product or service you want to bring to market. Now, me personally, if I wanted to quit my job and just replace my full-time income and book that flight to Southeast Asia or wherever the hell I wanted to go, I would start a service-based business. I charge $2 to $5K a month per client, and you could probably do that in under 3 months. Now, if you have no idea what you want to do, I always recommend the Ikigai exercise. Ikigai is the intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. Now, this is a really good orienting generalization to help you decide what's right for you. Now, once you have that orienting generalization, you can package that into an I help statement. So it can be I help niche, solve problem, get result with unique mechanism. Now you can actually take the answers from your Ikigai exercise and actually take it to ChatGPT and ask it to formulate an I help statement for you. This is really important because this is essentially your value proposition. This is the thing that you're bringing to market and how you're going to make money. Then I recommend running it through several filters. The first one is the filter of, can I see myself doing this in 5 years? Here's the thing, we often overestimate what we can do in a couple of months, but underestimate what we can do in a long period of time. And I truly believe if you pick one thing and you aim to master that over a 5-year period, it's almost impossible to fail. The only reason you'll fail is if you quit. Whereas if you keep going, keep learning for 5 years, it's almost impossible to fail. So the first filter is just saying, can I see myself doing this in 5 years? Secondly, I'd want to know, are there already people doing this thing, having success? You don't want to be the first person to market, but you also don't want to be going into an oversaturated market. So I try and find, okay, are there people having success, earning money in this way, but there's no monopoly, there's no go-to solution, product or service that everybody in the market already knows about. Like if you're thinking of a ride-hailing app, you don't want to sell an Uber or a Bolt or a Grab. They already exist, they've already got a monopoly over the market. But at the same time, you don't want to be the first mover. You want to find some proof of concept that there is a demand for this thing and people are making money in this space. And then I think, can I find customers for this thing, or can I create content that will help them find me? There's a saying in the startup world, which is first-time founders build great product, second-time founders build great distribution. What this means is, if you build it, they're not going to come. You need an ability to either find paying customers or create content so they can find you. Now, the goal here is to have a business idea that you love and that you're passionate about. Package it into a clear value proposition and be able to commit to it for the long term so that you can set yourself up for success. Something I just recommend is just knowing, like, when you go through this process, like, you're going to be rejected and that's going to suck, and you end up doing things you didn't really think you'd be doing. You're doing like admin and customer service bullshit. And often when you're starting a business, you're just like working longer hours for less pay. I know when I started out, I was working like 14-hour days for like £800 a month. It was brutal. But over time, I learned more skills like automation. I could focus on higher leverage tasks like paid ads or hiring or outsourcing, and eventually over time get myself to a position where I was earning way more than I ever was in a job, working part-time hours with a laptop from cool ass places like this. As Steve Jobs said, starting a business is an entirely risk-free venture because you're so much more valuable because you've undertaken that activity. Which actually brings us to the third and most important step in this entire equation. It's predicted that AI is going to replace nearly all of online jobs between now and 2030. That's 5 years. Now, this presents us with a huge threat, but also an incredible opportunity. Online workers are going to be completely replaced by AI, but online entrepreneurs will be able to leverage AI. So now more than ever, it's important to make that shift from worker bee to queen bee. So moving forward, as you begin to think about your own thing, I'd recommend focusing on one of 3 areas. The first is no-code tools like Replit or Lovable or Bolt, and actually essentially learning the skills of software development and product creation without the need to actually learn how to code. The second one would be AI automation, so tools like NAN or Make.com. Or the third one, and this is what I'm personally focusing on, that is AI content creation. So getting hands-on with tools like Midjourney or Seedance or VO3 or any of the other tools that are out there. Now look, AI, yes, on the one hand, it allows you to get so much more done and it allows you to leverage the expertise of AI, but most importantly, it's allowing you to sort of keep up with the rapid pace of change that we're seeing in the world right now. Like, if you aren't already using AI every single day in your work, whether you're a tradesman, a business owner, whether you're just an employee, you've already fallen behind and you need to get on it now. So for complete transparency, here's a couple of ways I'm using AI right now. Firstly, I'm creating a micro drama. These are vertical format 90-second episodes. And it's a completely new type of content that is making its way over from places like China to the West. Now, on the one hand, this is a really exciting online business opportunity for me. But on the other hand, it allows me to get hands-on with the tools and actually become a more valuable person simply through the act of creating this series. Another way is I'm using AI in videos just like this. Like earlier on, I incorporated some AI content to better help me tell this story. And another way that I'm doing this is through building community. So I've got a 100% free online community called the Creators Edge Lite. Inside there's free video lessons, a community of absolute legends, as well as live calls. And really, if people want more information, more knowledge, more training, more support, more accountability and community, then people can just join my free community. Now, I hope you liked this video. This is a brand new series that I'm actually going to be putting out where I'm sharing as much as possible to help you to create an income doing work you love, as well as create a life of complete location, freedom, and financial abundance. Now, I am gonna be checking all of the comments, so please do let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. And if you've got any questions you'd like me to address in future videos, please do let me know, because I'm personally gonna be looking at all of those comments and using those comments to inform future video ideas. Peace.